Welcome to Revival Cycles Tech Talk. I'm Stefan, and in this episode, we wanted to show you guys exactly how to configure the Motoscope Mini. So we're talking about the Motoscope Mini from MotoGadget, and you can see one that's been installed right here on the handlebars in this clever little machine piece that we made. The bike that we're talking about today is a custom Honda Ascot. You might not notice it, but that's because we built the majority of a custom frame for this one. Anyway, about the gauge. This is the gauge right here, and we're going to get into the details of how you configure this gauge. Here we see the gauge. This nice little unit here. It's worth noting that this is in what's called a combi frame, and that has all the indicator lights on the bottom. These indicator lights on the bottom don't actually come with this gauge, but it is a separate purchase component, and that's because some bikes will have the warning lights built into a different part of the bike, and it's really up to you if you want that added onto your Motoscope Mini or not. We've got it. We're not going to talk about it in this video. We'll talk about it in another video. So first thing we want to do is turn this thing on. We're using an M-lock, so hold the fob on the receiver and everything turns on. And it starts out by displaying the speed. Now you see the speed is 0 miles per hour because we're not going anywhere. First thing we want to do is go over the kind of features in the riding menu. This is the menu that you'd be in when you're actually riding the bike. So first up, speed, naturally. And this bar graph across the top will register RPM. Since the bike's not running, you don't see anything happening here, but almost like Night Rider, if you were riding, as the RPM changes, this bar graph across the top will register that RPM. So next, we've got a trip meter, so you can figure out how far you've gone on this trip. If you want to reset it, you press and hold 1, 2, and it resets. Next, after that is the odometer. This is the total vehicle miles. Right now it's showing 6, and that's because we've just finished building this bike. After that, RPM. So in addition to the bar graph on the top, it will also give you a numerical display of the RPM that the engine is currently turning. Last, time of day. Right now it's 9:37, and that is in the PM, so this video is being made after a very long and arduous day of work at Revival Cycles, but we wanted to get this information out to you guys so you can finish your builds. Next up, we're back to speed. So that is the complete and total display for the riding menu. Next, I want to show you how to actually configure the gauge and set all the parameters that are an option on this instrument. In order to get into the setup menu, like a lot of the MotoGadget gauges, everything is dependent on how long you're pressing the control button. So to enter into the setup menu, you basically have to press for 1, 2, 3 seconds. And it enters into the parameter menu first. After the parameter menu is the display menu. After that is reset. Reset is something where if you get your configurations kind of wrong or something starts to misbehave on the gauge, you can go ahead and reset back to normal and just start the process from the beginning. Back to the parameter menu. Let's take a look at what's in this one. Press and hold 1, 2. That gets us in. The first thing that comes up is teach. Now, teach is a really useful feature, and it's a way that you can calibrate the speedometer without having to measure your wheel circumference or know how many pulses the speed sensor actually generates. On a speed sensor that's mounted in the transmission, you never really know how many pulses it is, or it's a lot of research to figure out how many it is. So it's a lot easier to just go out with a handheld GPS or a bar-mounted GPS or someone that can pace you at exactly 30 miles per hour or 50 kilometers per hour, and then when you're ready and holding speed in an isolated area with no traffic and nothing that you can run into where you can pay attention to more than simply riding the motorcycle, you press and hold for 1, 2, and it'll start a countdown. And it's going to count down for 10 seconds and measure your speed, knowing that you're riding at exactly 30 miles an hour or 50 kilometers per hour, and that will calibrate your speedometer. Sweet, we just got that done. All right, next, after the teach feature, when the teach feature completes, it does exit back to your main riding menu, so we're going to enter back into setup. So press and hold for 1, 2, 3. Evidently, you can only enter setup from the speed display, so we'll try that again. 1, 2, 3, back to setup. And we're back to the parameters menu. Again, first up in parameters, 1, 2, to enter, is teach. After that is circumference. Now circumference is where you would manually enter the circumference of your wheels, or whichever wheel your speed sensor is connected to. Entering into that with a level 2 press, that's 2 seconds. Now to change which digit you're editing is again a level 2 press, so press and hold for 1, 2, and that moves us to the next digit. Press and hold for 1, 2, that's the third. Now if I wanted to change this, just a single press is going to change the digit to the next number in succession, all the way back to 0. Alright, so that's how you set that up. Now to exit, press and hold for 3 seconds. That gets you back to the circumference. Next after that is impulse W. That stands for impulse wheel. That's how many pulses are generated by the wheel speed sensor. So to enter into this menu and change it, press and hold for 1, 2, and right now it's set to 1, meaning there's one magnet or one indicator for whatever vehicle speed sensor you've got. If you need to, you can change this the same way. Select the digit with a level 2 push, that's 2 seconds. So if I want to switch and change this 1 to a 2, press and hold for 1, 2, switches to that digit. Now press and hold for 1, 2, switches back. Alright, now we can change that to 2. And let's say that's exactly what we've got because we're using 2 magnets on this wheel sensor. Press and hold for 1, 2, 3, exits. Next up, impulse E, that's impulse engine. Now when you connect the gauge to your ignition system, it's reading how many times the coils or the individual coil sparks per revolution basically. So in here we can enter in through a level 2 push, 1, 2, gets us in. Right now it's displaying 1.00. There are there's a bit of information in the manual that explains how you should select the correct number of impulses. Most of the time you're either going to have a 1 or a 0.5. Those are the most common selections that you're going to have. And in general, what I do is connect it up, see if it is registering an RPM, if that RPM is correct for what I know the engine to be spinning, because you can hear if it's 1,000 or 2,000. If that's matching up correctly with what it should be, it's good. If it's not, I'll go and switch it. Or if you want, you can do your homework and figure out how many sparks per revolution you get with that coil and enter that information in on this menu. All right, to exit, level 3 push, 1, 2, 3. Next after that is impulse F. Now this is a filter. This is just kind of a digital filter, and it's kind of some magic inside the software. Generally, you do not need to change this. This is only something that you would want to address if your RPM readings are erratic or jumpy. You can choose different filtering elements, and that will make it a little bit more stable. And there are 4 different choices, A, B, C, and D. They don't give much information about the algorithm behind those, but basically they suggest just experimenting with the other choices to see which one works best. So far, I have not found a need to change this from the factory setting. Next, after that, it displays the current software version. Again, there's nothing really that you can change here, but this can be useful for troubleshooting and debugging. If we need to contact technical support, you would want to suggest, or you want to include what software version you're currently running. After that, KVA. No idea what KVA is. It's not really addressed in the manual. Never seen it before, but shouldn't need to do too much with it. And we're back to teach. That's the totality of the parameters menu. Now we'll exit with a level 3 push, 1, 2, 3. And that gets us back to parameters. Level 1 switches to display. Level 2, 1, 2, enters display. And now this is where we can select what type of units you want your information presented in. Choose that, select a level 2 input, gets in there. Right now we're displaying in miles per hour. A single push switches to kilometers per hour. A single push switches back to miles per hour. Exit with a level 3, 1, 2, 3. And next is scale. So 1, 2. The scale is representing the basically what the top of the bar graph of RPM will read. So at the bottom of the bar graph, it's 0. At the top of the bar graph right now, it's configured for 10,000 RPM. And you can change this just like you would on setting the wheel circumference by a single level push, and it will cycle through from a 6,000 RPM limit, an 8,000, 10, 12, 14, and 16,000 RPM limits, and that should cover most motorcycles. Yeah, there's a couple that can rev above 16,000 RPM, but that is not very common. We were set at 10, so we're going to leave it that way, and a level 3 will exit. Next is day. So level 2, we can get into that. It is this is the contrast for the LCDs during the day. So that's how much contrast and how bright the LEDs are going to be during daylight hours. So we can leave that set at medium right now, or high plus, or low. And you can see that the brightness of the LEDs are changing depending, but we were set at medium. That seemed to be good. We'll leave it that way and exit with a level 3 push. Night, this is the contrast during night hours, and the gauge is able to determine how much ambient light is there to figure out if it's daytime or nighttime. And same thing, enter with a level 2, 1, 2, low, medium, high, high plus, but medium seems good. Exit with a level 3. Next is flash. This is going to be your shift light, so we can go and set this with a level 2, and this is where you could pick an RPM limit where it will start to flash at you so you know it's time to shift. Personally, I don't find much use for shift lights, but some people really like them. This is something that's completely up to you, and you can configure it how you want. So we'll exit this with a level 3. After that is A back. Now that's going to be the display that's in the LCD below. If you select something other than speed, this setting that we can configure is going to automatically switch back to speed if you go to like time of day or RPM or odometer and then leave it there. This will automatically switch you back to speed after the set interval. So let's set that. Enter with 1, 2, and right now it's set for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, it will automatically switch back to speed. That seems like a good place to have it set. We'll leave it there. Exit with a level 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, Vert M. Not exactly sure what this is. I'm hoping as we get in here I'll find out. Standard, right, left, up, down. Okay, so what this is actually you're able to change the orientation of the display on this gauge depending on how you've had it mounted. Meaning standard is the way that it is right now. If we switch it right, that means that we've rotated this to the right, and it will actually display this information so that you can read it with this display vertical. Left is with it displayed vertical the other way. Upside down is with it displayed inverted and upside down. So you can actually set this up in a lot of different configurations. So this one's installed in the standard configuration. We'll leave it that way and exit with a level 3 push. 1, 2, 3. All right, units. We're back to the beginning. This is where we select the kilometers per hour or miles per hour. And we'll exit here with a level 3 push. And that gets us back to display, reset, and parameters. And that is how you configure a Motoscope Mini. And a level 3 push will exit the setup menu and get you back to your speed, and you're ready to ride after all of that. All right, so there you have it. That is how you configure a Motoscope Mini. And as you can see, this is a product that we have installed on a custom bike that we built. That means we actually know how this thing works and can help you get yours to work. You can see this and a lot of other great products at revivalcycles.com, including this wonderful t-shirt that I'm wearing. So go to the website, check it out. If you run into any issues with your installation, send us an email at techsupport@revivalcycles.com, or you can call us. But we're always here to help you, and we want to see you get your project back on the road. Thanks for watching.